Ever spent hours studying for an exam or trying to learn a new skill at work only to forget almost everything the next day? The problem is not with the amount of time you spend studying, it's how you're doing it that matters. Imagine how much more you'd accomplish if you could remember a lot more of what you learned. Whether you're a student trying to ace your exams or a professional looking to learn new skills for your career, this video will help you dive into practical strategies on how to retain what you study. Before we jump into 7 different techniques to remember what you learn, it's important to understand how memory works. Your brain has 2 main types of memory that are key for learning: short-term memory and long-term memory. When you study something new, it's first stored in your short-term memory, which can hold information for a few minutes or hours. But the goal is to move that information into your long-term memory, where it can stick around for months or even years. So, how do we make sure that what we study moves from short-term to long-term memory? Let's dive into some strategies that will help you achieve exactly that. The first strategy is to gain a clear understanding of the concepts you learn, because it is far easier to retain what you understand than it is to remember what you don't. Ask why and how things work. If you are a professional, relate what you study to real-world application. Second method, spaced repetition. The second strategy is spaced repetition. Instead of cramming all of your study into one session, spread it out over several days or weeks. Research shows that reviewing information over spaced intervals increases retention far more than cramming. If you're a student who's preparing for exams, break up your study sessions into smaller chunks over multiple days. Review your notes the same day you learn the concept, then again a few days later, and so on. If you're a professional, the same idea applies. If you're learning a new system or skill at work, revisit it regularly. A good rule of thumb is to review new information after 1 day, 3 days, a week, and so on to strengthen retention. The third method to retain what you study is to make it practical. This means applying what you've learned to real-world scenarios. The more you can relate information to your daily life, the easier it is to remember. If you're a student, you can try relating what you've learned to your personal interests. For example, if you're learning about economics, think about how it applies to real-world economy or your personal finances. If you're a professional, making it practical means applying your new knowledge directly to your job. For example, if you're learning new software, practice using it in your daily tasks. Or if you're learning about management techniques, try applying them with your team. The fourth technique is breaking down large chunks of information into smaller, digestible parts. It's easier for us to remember things in smaller pieces, so instead of trying to memorize an entire chapter at once, break it down into sections or even bullet points. If you're a student, you can use this technique when preparing for exams by organizing your notes into smaller sections or by using mind maps. If you're a professional learning new processes, break them down into steps and review each one separately. The fifth method is the Feynman Technique. This is a strategy where you try to teach a concept to someone else in simple terms. The idea is that if you can explain something clearly and simply, it means you truly understand it. If you struggle to explain it, you know you need to study more, so you go back and revise what you learned until you become thorough with it. If you're a student, teach the material to your sibling or friend. If you can explain what you learned in simple terms, then you've mastered it. If you're a professional, try explaining the new skill or concept you're learning to someone outside your field. Simplifying complex ideas helps solidify the information in your brain. The sixth method to retain what you study is through a technique called active recall. This is when you actively try to remember information rather than just passively reviewing it. For example, instead of reading your notes over and over, close the book and try to write down or explain what you just learned. If you're a student, this could mean creating flashcards or testing yourself or writing down whatever you learned from memory on a piece of paper. You may also have your classmate ask you questions pertaining to the topic that you just learned. If you're a professional learning a new skill or concept, you can apply active recall by explaining what you learned to a colleague or using it practically in your job as soon as possible. The act of retrieval helps solidify the information in your long-term memory. The seventh method is the usage of mnemonics. If you're trying to memorize a process or sequence, create an acronym or a simple rhyme to make it easier to recall. Example, my very educated mother just served us noodles is a mnemonic device used to remember the order of the planets in our solar system from the sun. The M of my is Mercury, V of very is Venus, E of educated is Earth, M of mother is Mars, J of just is Jupiter, S of served is Saturn, U of us is Uranus, and N of noodles is Neptune. So, my very educated mother just served us noodles is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The eighth method is to create a study or work routine. When you study or work at the same time daily, preferably when you are most alert, your efficiency will increase and you will easily both absorb and retain what you study because you will have prepared your mind for learning. Remember that consistency builds discipline and enhances focus, so become consistent with your study. All these methods become very highly effective in an environment that is conducive for learning. Where you study or work can greatly affect how well you retain information. So, make sure your study area is not only well organized but also free from distractions. Whether you're a student trying to prepare for exams or a professional learning new skills, these strategies can help you retain more and learn more efficiently. Which of these techniques will you be trying? Please let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, kindly share it with others and please do like and subscribe. And please don't forget to hit the notification bell for more content like this.